My Melon. Okay, so I'm smiling so much right now. Um, because this information feels so true and so right to me. And I think a lot of you are going to resonate with this. And I'm just very happy and very thankful that I've been given this information to share with you. So, I was talking about the sixth dimension. So the sixth dimension society is where it goes beyond a utopian based society, and now it becomes kind of a intergalactic family with others and other extraterrestrials. You meet them face to face, and it's basically Earth expanded out into the universe. So different nations actually become different planets, and humans can actually decide if they want to live on other planets. So that's the sixth dimensional society. The seventh dimension is extremely exciting to me. As I talked about on my other video, about the net talk, the Archangel Haniel, and the Elven Star video. If you want to check it out, I'll put the link on. I found out that through research, the seventh dimension of the Kabbalah, the Tree of Life, which I truly do believe that there is some very deep esoteric wisdom and truth within that. Obviously, the Tree of Life is something, it's a wisdom that comes from the idea that nature holds a lot of keys for humanity. And different dimensions are experienced and played out in reality, determining on different levels of consciousness. And I truly do believe in the Tree of Life. I've seen it. I've witnessed that it is actual true esoteric mystical knowledge. It's not evil in any kind of way. In fact, it actually tries to work with creation in helping a species evolve. So it's actually a really beautiful part of Jewish mysticism. So I know that you can interpret Jewish mysticism in other ways, but I am interpreting it as the Tree of Life. The way that the system is set up is truly a beautiful system of watching a species evolve to self-realization as a whole, not just individuals, but actually as a whole. So what I've learned is that the seventh dimension of the Tree of Life, and I've been doing a little bit of research, is regarded as being attached to the Archangel Haniel. And then going further, I learned that the seventh dimension is the Angelic Dimension. And even further than the Angelic Dimension, as far as in research, I have found out that there's also ties to the Faerie realm, to the realm of the Fae. And all things that we consider are just myths and legends on this earth that we hear in stories actually exist in the seventh dimension. So a lot of people think that, oh, angels don't exist, fairies don't exist, mermaids don't exist, centaurs don't exist. These types of, and elves, of course, these types of beings, these actual manifestations from our Creator, actually exist on the seventh dimension. So what happens to a civilization that is in the sixth dimension? You live completely in utopian society, very honorable and respectful towards one another. You live sovereign over yourself. There's no need for government. You have wise counsels. You are now prioritizing and looking towards the universe and expanding your knowledge and awareness of other planets and other life, and you're actually making deals and trading and learning from other planets and life. So you're receiving information and goods and items, like an export-import type of situation where you can't even imagine on Earth. I mean, they have materials on other planets, they have things on other planets, technology on other planets that you can't even imagine on Earth right now. They are just so far technologically advanced, and they really truly have beautiful things and gifts to offer humanity. So in the sixth dimensional society, that is something that becomes very available. And it does a little bit in the fifth dimension as well. But it's like a bustling city of networks of planets in the sixth dimension. What ends up happening in the seventh dimensional society is that beyond Earthlings experiencing other extraterrestrial beings in their reality, they are then going to start to experience those beings that they believe are myths and realms that you can only imagine in the most wild fantasy that you have in your mind and in your consciousness now as a human actually exists on the seventh dimension. The seventh dimension is the gateways into the very, very light, high vibrational realm, in the sense that when things are lower vibration, they are physical because molecules and atoms have to slow down in order to create that dense reality. But in the higher vibrational realities, such as the seventh dimension, because the sixth dimension is definitely high vibration, but there's still a physical state of existence of society. But the seventh dimension is the angelic realms. So everything is completely intertwined with myth and with reality, in the sense that human beings at that level of society actually have exchanges, physical exchanges and communications to angelic beings, elves, fairies, gnomes, centaurs, mermaids, unicorns, dragons, in that kind of sense, because those elements of humanity, because we learn about them in our myths and in our fairy tales and our legends on Earth, those elements of knowledge in humanity right now actually live out in the physical reality on the seventh dimension. So I guess what I'm being told it looks like is this, is that you have this import-export relationship with other planets in the sixth dimension, and you become fully a multi-networking universe where people and different extra aliens you are able to communicate openly to each other and trade goods, and people live with one another. There's aliens living with Terran souls. There's Terran souls living with aliens on other planets. And then what ends up happening is I'm getting a strong message that the seventh dimension becomes so technologically advanced, in the sense that they open up portals and realms into the highest dimensions, and they actually experience one another within those realities. They actually experience one another as angels, as mermaids, and they meet these beings. And at the same time meeting those beings, they actually get to experience themselves as those beings. It's very, very complicated. But just know that the seventh dimension society is truly so amazingly beautiful, you cannot even imagine. It is like a portal opening up into the garden of your highest imagination, because it's no longer about life being sustainable on planets anymore. It's not about that. After the extraterrestrial dimension of the sixth dimension, then you're going into the higher dimensions where life can exist anywhere. You don't have to have conditions for life anymore. So it's almost like life forms are really just thought manifestations of the divine creator. So in the seventh dimension, if somebody wants to live with the fairies, what will end up happening is they will be in their their society and their civilization, and they literally will open up a portal, and they will be transported into that realm, and they will actually live amongst those beings of who they choose. And that is because they are opening up into the multi-perspective, multi-reality of the seventh dimension. And then your choice of what you want to live as, where you want to live, becomes even more available to you. No longer are you just experiencing life on other planets. You're actually experiencing life in other realms. So if you want to live with the mermaids, you're going to be able to do that. If you want to live with the fairies or the elves, you're going to be able to do that. And so what I'm understanding is that these archetypes of beings, such as the mermaids, the centaurs, the elves, the gnomes, the fairies, um, the angels, anything that we have considered to be mythological on this planet, those beings are actually from that realm originally. So when they ever have come to Earth, if they have been here in history, they have come from that higher dimension already, and they existed there, and that's why they were so full of their knowledge and their wisdom that they were able to cause that, I guess, that awe and that admiration in humans that love these creatures so much, these beings of the fairy realm, the Fae realm, so much, and they lived here, and technically they still do, but it's such a high vibrational reality and dimension that you cannot see them, you cannot really interact with them, unless your vibrations really are extremely high. And it's very hard to do that, but you're not going to see them in the physical, because they exist as light bodies. So basically what ends up happening is, in the sixth dimensional society, people can then choose, or they automatically are. I think they just automatically are. You are your individual soul, but you're also a light body. So you also can interact with aliens and other extraterrestrials, as a sixth dimensional soul. You understand yourself as a light body, but you're still a physical being. So you're still able to physically interact with your planet, with your home, with your civilization, and with other extraterrestrials with their home and their planets. But then the seventh dimension, you become a true light body. And that is where you live wherever you want. You're not on a planet, if that makes any sense. You no longer are in that realm of physical matter. You are actually in such a higher vibrational reality that it's like you're moving through your life as a dream. It is simply a dream, and you could choose whatever, I guess, portal or choice that you want to live in, and you will be taken there because your thoughts will bring you to that place. And that, I believe, is the next stage from the galactic Stargate, is then into the Fae angelic realms. And the angels live in the seventh dimension as well, because they are kind of the gatekeepers before you get to God. And the angels live in the seventh dimension as light bodies. And so they exist there, and you basically are either an angel, or you live with the fairies, or you live with the mermaids, or you live with the centaurs, or you live with the dragons. And then you also have connections to the angelic realms as well, as long as your soul stays pure and you are focusing on moving creation forward and life forward, and it doesn't become about you dominating over others and using your power as a light body being in order to gain more power and domination over others that are in the material realms. So that is where you have those archetypal beings and creatures that are said. Some of them have caused humans to fall or be tempted or to destroy itself. Like, you know, it's known as dragons have both a bad reputation and a good reputation. So in that pathway of the 7-dimensional fairy realm, what ends up happening is the 7th dimension fairy realm is available to those if they are still in the higher vibrational states. They can stay there. They can actually stay at the gateway of God if they are still in those higher vibrational states, and they want to help move the universe and expand it. And if they want to help life expand, so if they are a good dragon, they want to bring, I don't know, inspiration and magic and beauty to humans and other material beings, if they still want to bring that forward. But the minute a dragon decides to go to a planet and to try to dominate the minds of material beings, then that being is out of the objective perspective that is needed to stay at the gates of God, the gates of the angels. Wow. I don't even understand that, but I do inside. It's very exciting to me because it means that once a soul reaches the point of its soul growth and it moves from the 5th dimension to the 6th dimension into the 7th dimension, that's when it becomes an aspect of its true divine nature. And as long as that soul remains authentic to serving the force of the creation and the creator rather than serving itself, it will stay in the realms of the angels and of the fae, and live in a total existence of bliss, not quite solitude, but you are alone, but you're with your thoughts, and you're manifesting everything that you can desire, and you are an inspiration and a guide to the lower dimensional beings such as humans, and that's where you can live out your existence. But from there on, if you continue on that path where you're in the gates, the angelic dimension, and you're in that gates, the gateway of God, and you live out your existence in that form for a while, for as long as it takes, finally your thought manifestation that comes from the creator source will retire you. You no longer will have to exist in that matter, in that light body matter, and then you will enter into the whole unity consciousness of everything in the entire universe. And at that point, you can make your decision what you want to experience, and what you want to do. If you want to stay and be a helper for lower dimensional beings, or if you want to continue on living your experience in your own reality and not even focusing on helping. But usually those in the 7th dimension, they are there for a reason. The Fae is there to inspire humans. They inspire humans to take care of the earth, to love fully and embrace one another unconditionally, and they are so full of love and joy, and you can tell what a fairy energy is. And the elves are inspirations to humans because they teach how to be wise and be full of earth wisdom, and to use the knowledge that earth gives you in order to always advance yourself, and to be patient with your growth, and to be healers to those that are in need. So, humans learn from the elves in that way. Humans learn from the dragons because the dragons are full of kind of mystical wisdom and knowledge, and they're a very ancient race. And humans have been looking up to them for a long time with both fear and both admiration. They are so strong, and they are so, they do not care who they destroy um, if they feel that they truly need to destroy a certain group of people or a certain individual because they read into their souls, and dragons are very righteous, and so one of the things that we fear about dragons is the judgment that dragons will give, and then they throw their fire at you. And then also the admiration, because dragons do have this kind of noble, majestic thing about them. People just love dragons. Um, Same thing with all the other creatures of the realms of the Faes. Um, and the angels. I mean, they love the angels. I love the angels. The angels are an inspiration. They are the guide, the gatekeepers, the protectors over humanity. And whether they look like humans with wings, that's really just depicted in art. They live in our imagination and our thoughts of what is needed in order to protect humanity, and to help a species move along its evolutionary path. So basically, the seventh dimension is the realms of ideal abstracts and creatures that you would never even think could ever exist. But they do exist on the seventh dimension, and you can choose to merge with them, to live with them, or to become one in the seventh dimension. And that is the information I have on the seventh dimension. I have to ponder a lot more on the eighth. I do believe that after the angelic realm, you have the creator source, and then beyond the creator source, you have the intergalactic stargates, even further than just the material world of meeting other aliens. Then you are in, I guess, the gateways. The eighth dimension is like the gateways in order to um, be a light body soul that can affect other planets. And yeah, the eighth dimension is very difficult to think of, but it opens up even more dimensions, because some of the information that I'm getting is that it doesn't just stop at even the 11th dimension. There's like infinite dimensions, so it just gets very, very complicated, because as dimensions open up, more possibilities, more perspectives open up as well for a soul. Okay, you probably all think I am absolutely crazy with this video, but I don't care. I feel that humans need to think about these things in order to really uh, start to allow these things to happen. And if you feel very connected to the Fae realm and you feel in this kind of way, you may resonate with what I say, that it is all possible. And just because, once again, you die in this dimension reality, like, you don't have much time left now, you die in this dimension reality, that does not mean that your experience of the evolution of a species stops there. You are part of the storyline. And it doesn't matter if you're not in the physical timeline of that storyline. You will experience it in your consciousness. You will experience and get to watch humanity grow and change, and that's the beauty about being part of a species. You're part of a team, a oversoul for all eternity, and you are there to watch it expand and to grow. And it doesn't mean that you don't incarnate as different things, but you will be connected to humanity for all eternity. Your mind, your concern, your thoughts, on humans will actually be connected to you. Even if you come back as an angel, you come back as an elf, you come back as whatever you want to come back as and incarnate in the higher dimensions of reality after you die, your concern and your thoughts of humanity will still be with you. And that is the most beautiful thing about creation, is that because we come from love, because our Creator creates out of expressing love, wanting its creations to discover love, wanting the creations to discover one another, and in their doing that, they discover love, and wanting to discover love in the creation, and in that, they discover love. It's all about love. The universe is all about love. So the most beautiful thing about that is that when the universe is all about love, that means that the quest, the experience of love, of finding love, of discovering love, of experiencing love, of, all these things that you can do with love never ever ends, because love is infinite and you can never have enough love. There is no there's no ceiling to love. There's no ending to love. Love is infinite. So I hope that makes sense, and why the realms of the Fae is in the 7th dimension, and why the Elven Star has 7 points, and why it points to that. So that's really exciting for those of us who have always loved the Fae realm, have always loved the mythological creatures, have always loved those abstract ideals that they inspire to or find admirable or love so much. They exist for you. If you want to be part of that, then you will in the 7th dimension, before the gateways of the infinite creator. And even from there on, you can have more experiences from that as well. So that is my exploration of the 7th dimension, and it fills me with a lot of joy and happiness to know that I am not alone in those thoughts, and that one time I cried to my husband. I can't believe I did this, but one time I cried to my husband, and I was like, this is going to sound so crazy. Please tell me if you've ever done this yourself. I cried to my husband because I love the Fae realm. I love images and movies that bring you into these magical lands of impossible plants, impossible flowers, just impossible light, impossible beauty, that it exists on Earth, but you can't even imagine, you can't see it in the physical. And I cried to my husband one time because I was just so sad in a realization that my life, we were in the parking lot of Whole Foods. I was so sad that in my realization, in the parking lot of Whole Foods, that Earth was not like that. And that Earth was pretty barren in terms of the realms of consciousness that actually exist in the Fae realms. And it lacked the magic that I have always been seeking and wanting to experience in a physical life. Like, I mean, I've always wanted to experience walking through forests, living in a beautiful tree house, having amazing magical powers and connecting with the animals. And I mean, anything that you read about fantasy worlds and fantasy lands, that is something that I've always felt very drawn to and connected to. And in the parking lot of Whole Foods, I was crying to my husband because I was like, my life is just not like that. Like, Earth is just not like this. And I just was very sad. I was very sad that we had to go grocery shopping on a Saturday in order to live and survive. I just felt like existence was so much more. And I know that in receiving this type of information, the idea that existence is so much more. And it's just that we cannot see it right now, and we're not on that particular timeline at this point, and we haven't reached those thresholds together. But when we all do, and we will, it's a definite in the future, because life expands in kind of a divine order, and the universe expands in divine order. So it's not random and it's not chaotic. So we do go through first, second dimension, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. We go through that order, and it plays out in our reality. So the most beautiful information that came to me is the idea that, yeah, one day in the future I will be back in those realms, and other people will be there with me. Other souls will, that have always felt very connected to the Fae, and to the angels, and that is where we will play out our existence and play and live in bliss until who knows what happens in the 8th dimension. So I hope that made some sense to you, and I hope that it felt good for those of you who really truly love the Fae. That is the 7th dimension, and you can get in touch with the 7th dimension. You won't see them physically, because our Earth is vibrating on too much of a dense level. You're not going to see them physically, but you will experience them here. You'll experience them in your heart. You will experience them in your mind. And every time that you read Lord of the Rings, or watch Lord of the Rings, or read a book about the fairies, or read a book about the angelic realms, you will be transported there consciously. And being transported there consciously has a very strong effect in your real everyday world. For one, you're not going to cry in the parking lot of Whole Foods thinking that you can't live that kind of life. Now, that was many years ago, and now that I have opened up into elven wisdom and elven consciousness, I feel very connected to those realms. So I don't feel sad anymore, and I live my Terran life right now. I live on Earth, I pay my bills, I go to work, I go grocery shopping, I do all these mundane physical activities and human things. But because I'm connected to the Fae realms, I experience reality in a different way. There's more magic to my everyday life. There's more synchronicity, there's more beauty, there's more inspiration, I guess, to the soul when you are connected to the 7th dimension and to the fairy realms and to the angelic realms. So like I said in my other video one time, I said that the angels and Fae are on the same team. Unless they decide as an individual to use their power to dominate humans or to tempt or trick humans, it's important to understand that the Fae and the angels are on the same team. They are trying to inspire humans, bring beauty, bring light to humans, and bring love. And that's what the angels have been doing for many ages, bringing messages to certain people that were open to receiving those messages, which we call the prophets, which we call messengers, human messengers. So I guess that's all I have to talk about with this. And I know it's as crazy and as vague as the 7th dimension reality is, but I hope some part of it hit your heart and made sense to you. So, Han and Lei for watching, and I will see you on the next video.